With me right here is the Inov-8 Trailtalon 235, and today I'm going to give you the lowdown on everything you need to know about the shoe, as well as a background into the brand. Inov-8 are best known for their trail running and cross-training shoes, as they've got a selection of shoes with really specialized rubber outsoles that have built up strong followings in sports like orienteering, OCR and swim run. Inov-8 are one of the few brands that have a comprehensive trail range that have shoes designed for specific conditions. For instance, the Trailtalon is designed for hard ground conditions, whereas a shoe like the X-TALON is designed for soft ground conditions, where there's a greater need for deeper lugs and uppers that can resist mud better. In the Inov-8 range, the Trailtalon 235 is a nimble, lightweight off-roader with a low stack height. The 235 in its name is its weight in grams, so it's light as a feather. Partly why I was interested in reviewing the Trailtalon 235 is because there aren't too many ultra lightweight, low stack height trail shoes in the market anymore, and although it's less cushion than what I'm used to, it reminds me of why some runners like these lesser cushion designs and why it will continue to be a niche in the market. When we talk about the tech specs of the Trailtalon 235, the first thing to know is that it's got a low stack height, and this gives you a really connected experience with the ground, yet it's still reasonably protective for the frame you have underneath your feet. The shoe has a deconstructed design, so it's not going to support your foot that much. But then again, the type of runner who will likely be using the shoe shouldn't require that much support. But because it's also not that high off of the ground, there is an inherent grounded feel you get while running in the shoes. As I said, this shoe is reasonably protective for the amount of cushioning you have underfoot. But there's only so much treacherous, rocky running you can do before your feet will begin missing that extra bit of cushioning. So for my liking, this isn't an everyday running shoe, but a shoe made for the select day. And that select day probably won't consist of more than 60 minutes worth of running, or on the other hand, you could use it as a race day shoe. But even come race day on technical trail, I probably wouldn't take it beyond 15 kilometers. The shoe's midsole is rather flexible, which is actually quite rare of trail shoes at the moment. And its midsole cushioning is on the softer side, but because your foot's quite close to the ground, the softness diminishes and you actually have a slightly firmer underground feeling. But we know that firmer cushioning is actually, or firmer sensations are actually better in terms of getting proprioceptive feedback of the ground beneath you. The key selling point of the shoe is of course its grip. It blends multiple types of rubber together in this outsole so that you have the sweet spot between stickiness and grip, and it certainly delivers. It handles technical terrain remarkably well. The upper on the shoe is pretty simple. It's nothing fancy, but it is certainly a better upper than some Inov-8 uppers I've seen in previous years that just have a rather simple mesh. And then there are trail specific overlays which just give your foot a bit of protection and call it trail specific lockdown, but they certainly don't hinder your foot in getting that free feeling fit. You also have a toe bump up front here that is quite flexible and not extensive, so it's not bulletproof and certainly can't afford you to run too recklessly on the trails without hurting a toe. The fit of the shoe is great. I did have to go half size down compared with my typical road running shoe size, but this is often the case for trail running shoes. It has a fairly slim fitting trail specific fit, but because of its flexible overlays and non-restrictive fit, it does open up and shape to your foot quite nicely. So in summary, the Inov-8 Trailtalon 235 is not the most commercial shoe, but it suits a particular niche and is very good at it. The type of runner who will benefit most from the shoe is likely someone who has multiple trail running shoes and can use this more for their shorter, faster running while still having something else in rotation that's more forgiving for easier and recovery runs. Thanks very much for watching this shoe review. Subscribe to my channel to be part of my first 1,000 subscribers, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.